stage for some heated debates. House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer joins me now with his thoughts on the agenda. It's funny, I guess it's politics, Leader Hoyer, but we just had Senator Hutchinson and Senator Gregg on. Is this the same budget that you're talking about, where it has all this fiscal responsibility in it, or are we looking at different pieces of paper here?
No, it's probably the same pieces of paper, people giving different spins. Very frankly, Judge Gregg and Kay Bailey Hutchinson are friends of mine, people I respect, but obviously they pursued and supported an economic policy over the last 8 years that I think has gotten us deeply in debt and deeply in trouble in this economy. What President Obama said was he was going to submit an honest budget. As a matter of fact, the Center for Federal Budget Priorities says this is a much more reasonable and honest budget in the sense that he includes the cost of the war, which were not included previously, cost of adjusting the alternative minimum tax, and making sure that Medicare stays up with the doc fees that are necessary. So this is a pretty honest budget, and I think it realistically puts forward a plan to get us to have the budget deficit by the end of President Obama's first term. I think that's an objective that we ought to be going after. He endorses PAYGO, which says that we're going to pay our bills as we go along, not put generations more deeply into debt. But he's inherited, as he said Tuesday night, the worst economic situation of any president since Franklin Roosevelt. So they're tough times. This is going to be a tough budget. But he also is looking to the future in terms of health care and education, foreign policy. So I think it's a realistic budget. It's a tough budget.
Leader Hoyer, I think one point that was made is that it's going to be 12% of GDP. This is going to be a huge budget this year, and yes, no one's really taken issue with that. You know, you got to do what you got to do. So we're going to, obviously, by 2013, we're headed on a downward glide anyway. Just to get to half of that, that number still represents a greater budget than any that we had in the past, a greater deficit than any we had in the past 8 years. And I guess
not as a percent of GDP, but in terms of well, I'm not sure. This budget deficit, at the end of this fiscal year, which is essentially the result of the Bush budgets, is going to be greater than that at the end of Obama's term if we half the budget.
No, but
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but if we go to, if we get down to $600 or $700 billion by 2013, that's still not a good number. There's got to, there could be better numbers.
Absolutely, you're right. It's still way too high. We got to bring it down. I'm worried about my grandchildren and my one great-granddaughter paying these bills. This generation has a responsibility, as the president said on Tuesday, to in effect suck it up, pay for what we're buying, but invest in getting us out of this hole, but growing the economy and creating jobs for our people and bringing this deficit down. Absolutely. It's too high, even at the end of 4 years.
We keep asking the question about whether President Obama could make some of the same mistakes that prior presidents have made, trying to do too much at once. We are in a dire economic circumstance here. Is now the time for health care?
Well, I think the answer to that question is yes, because as President Obama has pointed out, as we all know, health care costs are about 24% of the entire GDP. So this is a huge number, a number that is really, in many respects, crushing business and making them not competitive in world markets because of their health care costs. So the answer to that question is health care costs are really at the center of much of our financial difficulty, and we need to deal with them. Now, and there's no better time than now, when we have a crisis, people understand that we need to make bold decisions, and we need to address critical problems. And I think that's what the president's doing, both with health care, with energy, and with education.
Do you think that we're all being realistic about what the ultimate taxpayer cost is going to be to take care of our financial sector when we think about our future deficits?
Let me tell you, if you'd told me a year and a half ago I was going to vote for a bill that did $700 billion in a troubled asset relief program and another $787 billion in a recovery and reinvestment program within 4 or 5 months of one another, I've said, you're crazy. The crisis that confronts us is so large, and President Bush, President Obama, economists across the board have said we need to respond, we needed to respond quickly, and we needed to respond very substantially if we were going to stop an even deeper recession. So that was the alternative we were confronted with. We have taken it, and we all hope and pray, as the president said, for success. We need to get this country moving. We need to create jobs. We need to staunch the loss of homes that are occurring every day in this country. We need to get this economy back on track, and we're trying to follow the best advice possible.
Leader Hoyer, the other common thread running through the opposition's arguments today was that so many small businesses pay taxes at the rate that's going to go from 35 to just under 40, and that's going to actually hurt any efforts that the stimulus bill has in creating jobs. It's going to be, offset some of the gains we make there. How do you respond to that?
Well, very frankly, the Republican argument that I hear today is the same argument I heard in 1993 when President Clinton put forth an economic program to the Congress of the United States, and not one single Republican voted for it. And they all said exactly the same thing they're saying today, that Clinton's economic program would lead to disaster, high deficits, deep unemployment, and a slowdown in the economy. In fact, exactly the opposite happened. We had the best job production of any president, and 6 times the job production of President Bush. So in terms of the criticism that we're hearing today, it's not new. The Republicans' answer is almost always lower taxes, but they increase spending at twice the rate that the Clinton administration increased spending. So they didn't pay the bills. We incurred deep deficits, and we took the referee off the field. We had the regulators sitting back and watching business make extraordinary irresponsible decisions and facilitate, frankly, irresponsible decisions being made by consumers and individuals. And that's where we find ourselves today. I think we need to get back to the kind of responsibility, the pay-go philosophy, and the fact that this generation has to invest but has to pay its bills.
Leader Hoyer, we appreciate your time today. The mail, as I can see, it's shifting back. We had Judd Gregg and Kay Bailey on, and now it's moving. So you handled that side of the argument well, and we appreciate it. But I can tell you that people are still split in this country to some extent. But we appreciate Leader Hoyer and his time. Have you noticed that people feel very strongly on the 2 different sides?
Yeah.
Of
people have different